Hello, and welcome back to the Paddle and Fin podcast. This is Adventures with Outdoorwoman, and here's your host, Mrs. Susie Roloff. Hey guys, welcome back to the Adventures with Outdoorwoman podcast. I'm your host, Susie Roloff, and today I've got my next epic guest. I've got Mr. Martin Kwick here, who lives up in Managua, Wisconsin, and he is his own business guy. He is Kwick Graphics, and if you guys don't know Mr. Jay Wallen, he's got a new logo on behalf of Kwick Graphics. And he's also got some awesome adventures that he does. So without further ado, I'm going to let Mr. Martin talk here about who he is, what he does, and go from there.
All right. Hey, thanks, Susie. I appreciate it very much. Martin Kwick. I am a graphic designer. Been doing it since, too long, 25, getting up to be 25 years. And residing up here in the land of more lakes than Minnesota has. Right. Have 10,000. We have 15,000. They're smaller, but we have more.
Yep.
So, yeah. And so, I don't know, avid angler, avid artist, and like to adventure as much as I can. So.
Awesome. Sorry, go ahead. Let's see here. So I know that you did Great Lake Kite Fishing Series logo for them when they redesigned theirs, and you also did Mr. Jay Wallen's logo, which was pretty awesome. And he's currently working on a logo for me.
yeah, working on a logo for you too. And I did one for Barry Davis as well. Yeah, he's got his little bearded logo. It's the one that I created for him too. And it's getting pumped out and pushed out everywhere. He's got decals on his truck now. He's got shirts. He's got hats. So it's kind of a neat. That's a huge thing for me is when you see that someone like you, once you eventually get that logo, we're gonna get yours polished up a little bit more here. But once you see that person and they're pumping it onto everything they own, it just gives me a warm and fuzzy too as a designer because they're proud. They're like, yeah, this is mine. This is my brand. This is my image. So that is huge to me. I love that.
Awesome. You've been awesome to work with so far. I mean, we started out with kind of like four basic designs. And I'm like, well, I don't like this, I don't like that, but I do like this and I like that. And we've been through how many edits now so far? So I mean, you just keep chugging along.
We're gonna keep that in a down low because how many edits I've done. Usually, the logo process is that I usually hand you 3 to 4 designs. And then you get 3 to 4 revisions only. So like from that set, you get another set of revisions up to 4 more revisions. After that, I usually start saying, hey, this is at a point where I'm going to, have to look into billing you a little extra because we're going further and we're not reaching where you need to be. And usually, in most cases, Susie, I can get that in that 3 to 4 revisions.
I just might be a difficult customer.
Yeah. No. I actually, truth be told, with her, I took a little bit different route. I usually do everything in black and white first, and then I give you, once you're like, oh, I love this, okay, but now I want to see these colors, and then we start to integrate color. Because if you like it in black and white, and then once you add color, it's like, oh. Right. And then all of a sudden it kind of hits you differently, and now it's starting to really feel like yours, and we built it into what you're looking for instead of giving you a whole plethora of designs and colors like I did, and really messing your brain up. So I do apologize. It's a little bit different procedure, but yeah.
Oh yeah, it was still awesome either way. I mean, you always gotta kind of get creative a little bit sometimes too.
Yeah, so. and sometimes I'm trying to be nice, and I think I'm giving you more by doing that, and really, it's inundating you with so much that you're like, I don't know what to do.
Right.
So. Yeah, it's a careful process, and my end game is that like with, Jay Wallen and Barry Davis, as I see people like that, and now they're using the logo on their social media, they're using it everywhere. And again, that gives me a warm and fuzzy because that's some of my artwork that's getting pushed out around. And yeah, in the end of it all, it makes me feel good. And I consistently have, I've done stuff for a couple different places where hey, can you do this for this? And it's little stuff for the fishing industry. Another one that up here is Brian Schultz. He makes, he's called it Bass Nut Lures. And he had a logo for years, and I kind of retouched that and remodified it. And he makes some pretty cool creature baits. So that was another one too. And it's got a nice American logo feel. So
nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely some good insight on that too. And let's see here. So you are part of a fishing team, right? Are you still part of a fishing team, or is that still kind of?
Well, it depends on how you mean it. Well, I'd like to be. I guess I consider myself. There's a little group here. There's coontail fishing up here in northern Wisconsin. I've been on and off. Haven't really solidified anything. We haven't done anything back and forth. They're good people. Love them to death. But we just haven't really, like, here's a contractor made something like this is what I'm gonna do for you. This is what you're gonna do for me. Let's, it's kind of like on a handshake, kind of like, oh, I'll promote you once in a while. You know what I mean? Yep. So I'm, it's something where I know too, even when I do logos, you got to establish some kind of contract, even though you may be great friends. It helps everything in the long run that you're going to work better and more smoothly together. You both feel like you gain something when you're all done too.
Right. So, Yep. Definitely having those good professional relationships are always helpful.
Yes, they are. There's a place up too that Vickers Eye Care in northern Wisconsin. He's both a friend, an angler, and a customer. And we, do a lot of bartering, working back and forth. And again, he's definitely a professional character, and he's been helping out a lot with me and my fishing and his. We go back and forth. I love it. It's that kind of stuff that helps too. But that's all handshake.
Right. Vickers. Yeah, he's a good fellow. You guys had kind of given me some insight on a couple different places to fish when I was up there in Managua last year. I was kind of having some fun fishing before the Great Lakes tournament up there, and you guys put me on a pretty awesome lake up there. And then, of course, Greg Vickers had to come to my rescue because of my embedded hook.
Yeah, that was great. And I loved all the footage, just little photos of you, like, yeah, here I am, hook in the hand.
Right. Yep. On the middle of this lake that I had to portage, like, almost a mile to, I'm like, how am I going to do this? So yeah, that's a lot of fun. But
teach a person to fish and feed them for a lifetime, and also send them to the hospital with hooks in their hands for a lifetime.
Right. Oh gosh. But so I know you've been working on this AnglerOne thing. So tell us more about that and what you did last year and what you got plans for to do with it this year.
Yeah, AnglerOne, it was an idea just to, I guess, move people, multifaceted, if you will. It's just a good deed thing. It's called One, but my actual tagline is going to be AnglerOne to move a million. And so, you know what I mean? It's kind of, but I thought AnglerOne marketing, keep it simple. People will respond to that, react to it. Once I get it built up a little bit, then I can maybe throw in my tagline of to move a million. AnglerOne to move a million, kind of catchy. And the idea was to get people to do, like raising funds for Honor Flight, donating goods. There's a lot of kayak industry stuff. It has exploded so much, and I see so much potential for so many people that are wanting to get into it. If we can create good vibes, both, like, hey, there's so many programs out there, Where's in the Water, all these different venues, and I just thought, if you're going to go off this planet, do something that makes you, when you're about to, go to the light, that you did some good, and I thought, well, okay, I'm going to make AnglerOne do that. I want to make it so when I'm down the road, I go, I raised this much money, I did this, I feel good, I can now die and go, yep,
Right.
So AnglerOne was based on the premise of in doing graphic design, running my own business, you should always do public relations. You should do something where you're giving back to the community in some way. And so that's kind of how this all started up. And the more I got into it, the more I loved it, and I want to do more with it. So I started off another branch of that, and I called it the Mob, and I call it Masters of Backwater. I know this is a lot. I got my hands in too many. I need to simplify. But the Mob is Masters of Backwater, and I call it like the professional group of people, like in the old gangster days, that want to clean up the water, do the good deeds. Like when they started professionalizing and actually helping out people, becoming a business in a good way. Don't take this bad, but that now we're cleaning up the waterways and we're doing stuff. So I made some cool stickers and I got a nice logo for it. And so I really, AnglerOne is also doing good deeds of cleaning up waterways when we use them. So in May, when it starts to warm up here, I've got a river trip planned, and I want to get as many people as I can on the Wisconsin River to go down, and at each dam, or I don't care if you see a little bag or a wrapper floating in the water, everyone by the end of this trip better have a couple baggies to set up. And I've already got a person designated to stop at each dam and pick up garbage bags filled with the garbage that we're going to leave packed up and ready to be hauled away. So, and I think there's 1, 2, 3 portages, and then a final destination of a pretty big campground in Merrill, Wisconsin. But the whole idea is that we're going to be learning fishing, kayaking, canoeing, a little bit of whitewater in there, a little bit of rugged stuff, the portaging. It's the whole enchilada. But at the end of it too, the idea of this is that we're going to hopefully have a kayak donated by someone, and all the people that are coming on the trip are going to push it online and social media in every facet they can, and pump out a digital raffle. And we can raffle off a whole bunch of tickets and give that money to Honor Flight. So that's the gearing. That's the whole idea.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds really awesome. I mean, when coming up with ideas and stuff like that, go big or go home, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, that's awesome. So last year, do you remember like how much you raised, how many people you had involved, all that?
I actually it wasn't last year, the year before is when I did my first trip down. I actually was just going for longevity. I was trying to see if people, like do a pay by the mile, and not many people respond to that. So I just got a kayak donated from actually New Canoe. And yeah, it was their New Flint actually. And then I had a guy retrofit it with some cool lights and LED pack system so you could light it up, and then it has solar panel. It was all decked out with a bunch of little trinkets, things that were donated. And in the end, my first run, I only raised, well, to me, I wanted $5K. I wanted more to donate, but I raised a little over $2,200.
Wow, that's pretty good though for your first year.
Yeah, it's not too bad. My first time ever doing a raffle, and it's weird because when people are like, oh, raffle, whatever, and they buy a raffle ticket. On my side of it, the people you talk to, the people you try to engage, inspire, and that you try to motivate, and when you want a 5K goal, you're like, I put in hundreds of hours talking, meeting, greeting, and I should have just worked really hard and donated that money myself. Right. So there's a little, but the whole journey of the entire thing, what I did is I started at the Wisconsin River. I started at the Rainbow Flowage, and I kayaked down past Stevens Point, all in the kayak, portaging the entire way. I spent one night in a house in Wausau because that's where I live. So as I portaged all the way down, most of the time I spent the night on a shoreline in a nice sleeping bag and a mosquito net. If it was no rain, I slept out and on the ground, and on an air mattress. Don't get that wrong. Gotta have my air mattress. I'm getting old.
You're right. Yeah.
Without that thing. But the whole journey honestly was just amazing. There's spots I launched into some big smallmouth and some big pike, and I was actually tagging those locations and putting them on Facebook. So I'm live feeding a lot of this stuff. I'll live feed, and I was thinking that's going to get people watching. They're going to be watching it because of these live feeds, catching fish and all this stuff. But it had some pull. But I think this year, actually having people come with and being a part of just a 2-day trip is really going to be more inspirational too, because I can talk to them and they can feel the emotion behind it more directly. When it's all done through the media,
right, yeah.
So Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. And I mean, and even with those people too, maybe try to encourage them to go live on Facebook too. They'll have people watching and looking too, more people
That's what I'm
seeing
hoping.
it. Right. Yep,
Give some of
exactly.
admin access. Yeah, giving them admin access, letting them do live feeds, multiple things. So we can maybe live feed each other in the middle of a fish battle or something. Or
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, that'd be
or
awesome
cooking
because
fish, just the simple things.
right, yeah, because who doesn't want to see somebody battling a monster pike or like a 5-pound
Must be.
smallie up there? I mean, you guys have like amazing fisheries up there.
In this section of the Wisconsin River that I'm wanting to take these people on, there's a couple spots in it that have got, I mean, trophy smallmouth.
Oh,
I caught one last year that I can't find it. It bummed me out so bad. I think didn't even film it, but it had big black spots on it, pure black. So it almost looked like a grouper. It had such oddball patterns, and
wow.
it was a 20.5-inch giant smallie, thick, big fat. And I was like, oh my God, I got that all on film. I got all on film. I was so happy. I got off the water. Nothing. I'm like, what?
Oh, no.
So, and anyhow, but there's some trophy smallmouth through one section. There's an area that's very well known for tigers, tiger muskie.
Ooh.
Yeah, and that's on Lake Alexander. It's just after a semi crappy short stretch of rapids. Right after that, there's a couple of islands and banks and another river that dumps in, and there's a good chance if you're throwing a bucktail or something that you can pop out a muskie, a tiger too. My very first time ever threw it that I did this trip, it was only about a 30-incher, but I got a tiger. Somebody said, "Oh, this spot right here, you got to hit that," and I did. Tiger. So I had probably I thought it was a muskie too on one point, and I love it. It's all over kayaks. I'm just everything's closer. It's more lovable. But I thought I was fighting in a decent muskie, and as it came up and turned next to the boat, it was a pike, big northern pike. I mean, 40-inch. And right as it turned right by the kayak, I tried to sweep around with it because it was coming right around the nose. The line bounced off the front of my kayak just a little bit with all that gear on it, gone.
Oh,
and I'm like, no. Yeah.
Man. Oh,
Yeah.
God.
And of course, every time, and we all know this, 100%, any person's ever kayak fished and tried to film it, if you catch a fish, it's not working. Your film is not running.
Right. It's like the curse up there. It's just like, oh, yeah, your camera shows that it's recording, but it's really not.
Yeah. Or the second you see the red light, it's recording, you won't get a fish for 3 hours. The battery runs dead. Oh, fish on.
Yeah, right. Yep. Yeah, that's every angler's problem. Yeah, it's just like, oh, I'm gonna record and nothing. Yep. As soon as the battery goes dead, then it's like fish on. It's just like, really.
Yep. So on a side note too, I just want to say it. This stretch of the river that I kind of set up, it's really comfy. We'll be starting off at a dam below the dam, so no portage there. We go down, and right away there's a place called Aquatic Arts. They deal with a lot of kayaks. Stop there for general bait, supplies, ideas. If I can, it's me helping them out. But then from there, you can just fish, check out scenery. If you're not an angler, you can go down and work it. And then the next spot is a dam. It's a very easy portage. And this time of the year, smallmouth and pike are coming up in the shallows. And you can just run a fluke or something like that and just tweak it through the water along the trees. And it's on. So it's a good time. And right below the dam, if they want to, they can try to soak for walleye too that time of year. So it's really a perfect time of year. And then once you get past that dam, our very first portage, the next section is that where I had on that big smallmouth. Several times I've gone through there now and picked up 20-inchers. So it's very feasible for someone on this trip to get their first 20-inch smallie.
Nice.
And just below that smallmouth area is where there's some flats, and that big pike nailed me too. So, and then it's just a great section of water. So I'm hoping lots of people come and fish. And like I said, if they don't want to fish, they can watch the anglers, and then we'll fillet and cook them up to some good springtime fish, and and raise money.
Right. Awesome.
That's the idea. Is I do want this to be like a $5,000 raffle if we can do it. I know it's one kayak, but if we can raise 5K, that'll give me a warm and fuzzy. That's the next stage. I want to at least upgrade. And part of my thing is I want people's input on this from this podcast. If they can do it, that'd be great. Is that I want input. Like if we do this trip, my plan was to keep on going like I did last time and see how far I can go in the next week and a half. So I'd actually be living on that waterway, going downriver for another week and a half. And the whole time doing live feeds. And if people want to join through, if they have time off, they want to connect part of the waterway, I'm all for it. So.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that definitely sounds like a awesome adventure. How many miles would you say that you would, well, I guess maybe how many miles did you do last year and how many miles are you hopefully trying to do this year?
I did approximately, the first time I ever did it, I did right around 100, I think it was 146, 150 miles, somewhere right in there.
Wow. And how many days did that take you?
That was 9. On the 9th day at noon, I was done because my battery pack, actually, the solar system I had was not quite at the par, and I couldn't keep anything charged anymore.
Oh no.
I messed something up. Let's just put it that way. I think I did something. So it was a learning curve. Next time I'll have a little bit better setup for keeping things charged. Because if you don't have a charged phone, you're not doing live feed.
Right. Yeah.
And that was my whole thing. I'm like, if I can't do live feed, I'm just floating for no reason.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I mean? I'm not promoting during the entire. I'm still floating for a reason, but to raise money. But no one knows anymore. Like, where'd he go?
Right. Yeah. Nice. So for those who are interested in joining you, what gear would you maybe suggest that they have, or anything that they need to come prepared with, or anything, or just bring their kayak and fishing gear? Are they ready to go?
Yeah, and it's that time of year where there could be some rain, so definitely rain gear. If you plan on staying the night or just doing a one-day run, plan accordingly with that. If you know you're going to spend the night somewhere, have a small tent or at least a waterproof, they call it bivy, or sleeping bag. I honestly like roughing it, and I'll bring a tarp at times and just make sure it covers up my head. I don't care if some good shoes. If you're gonna get in and out of the water, you're gonna want some waterproof shoes. And I always recommend a couple pairs of socks. If you do get wet, it's always to have a nice dry pair. It's that time of year again. It's towards the end of May, but I slept fine, but somebody else might be like, it's 40 degrees and I'm dying.
Right. Yep.
I woke up and there was one night that there was frost in the water, and that was gone very quickly. But then there was just this illuminating fog rising from the water in the morning, and I'm like, dude. So that's something too. If they want to check out some of my previous videos, they can go to AnglerOne on Facebook and find it right away. It's pretty easy, blue and green logo with a A for angler that kind of looks like the front end of a kayak. Okay. So, and also Star Trek, I noticed from someone telling me that. But they can go and see some of the older videos and see some of those moments too, that there was fog coming off the water. I got some of that stuff, of course, because there's no fish involved.
Right. Well, hey, sometimes, it's not always about the fishing, sometimes just the scenery and being outdoors and being out in the water and just being out in nature in itself too, is just all that I could need sometimes, because just, getting away from, civilization and people and, just the noise of everything and just getting out to the quiet serenity is, basically all you need sometimes.
Huge, and that's key. And I'll say this I've heard it quite a few times from the ladies, as that they're like, you know what, I'm not thinking about doing this, I'm not thinking about doing that, about partying. I want wine and a silent room. No one can come and talk to me. And I relate that to the fishing. Is sometimes, you can go off into a corner in your kayak and paddle, and those subtle sounds of the paddles hitting the water and a brisk morning. And, there was so many times during that 9-day trip that I woke up and I was like, there's no one around. The water's glass. There's fog raising off of it. And I'm like, this is what it's about right here. Fishing or not fishing, this is it. Pure serenity.
Yes.
So yeah, it's love.
Right? It's that passion right there, It just, yeah, it's awesome. But yeah, if watchers and listeners are wanting to donate in some way, shape, or form, what's the best way that they can go about doing that?
I would say you can just direct message me on AnglerOne. I'll definitely give my email address here too, and that's K as in kilo, and my last name is Kwick. It's KWICK, D as in dog, RAW, quickdraw@gmail.com. Go ahead and send your information there if you got any ideas for donations or something. Everything that you donate is going to go towards the honor flight. We're going to put it into a raffle package of some sort, some way, and I will guarantee you I'll make a video about any donation and post it on that Facebook and also YouTube. I'll be doing both. So there's also AnglerOne on YouTube, all spelled out. And last year when I did the videos, everything that everyone donated, I made sure I laid it out, showed what it was, and they even got to see the winning person video getting all of that gear. So that way there's a little bit of contract in there, even though it's good. People want to know that their stuff is being donated to a good cause and that it went and that it's been done. So I try to make sure that it's 100% done.
Right, yeah, because you hear about raffles and giveaways all the time, but you don't always get to see those awesome prizes like being given to the person or being used by the people who won them. So like having that part in there is pretty huge also.
Yep. And I actually followed up with the one gal who won, or actually both of them. There was a Go Boat, which was donated by a place out of Oklahoma. It's basically an inner tube with this whole mesh or this whole plastic insert that goes inside with the trolling motor. It's basically a bumper boat. That was donated as well too, like a $350 donation. And a girl won that out of Wausau, and another girl won out of Anigo. And she won the kayak with all the camping gear, tents, a fishing pole, lures, everything. It was awesome package. And I checked up with both of them a year later, and both said, yeah, my kid's still using the Go Boat. It was great. It was fun. And the other girl says, oh yeah, I've been using it, love it, and that I'm like, okay, that's cool for me. So it was warm and fuzzy on that side of things too. A year later, and you talk to them, and they're like, yeah, thanks so much. That's cool.
That's awesome.
And next time you do a raffle, by doing those little touch-ups, they're gonna like, this raffle is awesome too. So they're gonna talk about it if you do another one, which is huge.
Awesome. Yeah, that's always good to, follow up with the people who have been part of it too in the past, because, sometimes you hear about people who win these big things and then you never hear or see them again, but it's always good to keep those connections and keep those people active with everything too. So yeah.
And they're obviously the people that, they care too. They bought tickets. So
right.
It's good to have that kind of people around.
Exactly. Awesome. On the last two trips that you did, what would you say was your best day and what was your worst day?
Well, I'd say the best day was when I actually had a friend of mine, Charlie Shuett. He actually came out and he had his kid dress up in a dinosaur costume, one of those inflatable ones, on the river. He knew we were going to be coming through. He's like, hey, where you at? I'm like, okay. And he had his kid out there in that dinosaur costume. It's in the video. And he had Subway sandwiches in a net. And then a little sign he made that said, come and get them if you can. It's like a dinosaur and you got Subway waiting, but be scared, So, yeah, so we stop and he's got Subway sandwiches as we're floating down this river by a bridge. And I'm like laughing my butt off, I'm like, really, dude? So a couple of my good friends stopped out on that river passage and made that a fun little stopping point with some good grub, and their kid was having fun. And I had another friend that was coming with me in the first part of the voyage. So there was like, 5 or 6 of us all standing in the shoreline having a good laugh, and it appreciated, that's the kind of stuff that is cool. And Vickers too, he even brought me some Subway in a different part of the trip. So little stuff like that, when you have people that catch you off guard, that's the best.
Right. Yeah. I mean, who can't have fun with an inflatable T-Rex costume? I mean, one showed up at my wedding.
Awesome.
So, yeah, that was awesome. That was awesome.
Was your T-Rex mean? Ours was, he was silent, like Silent Bob. He wasn't saying anything.
No, yeah, he was pretty silent too. But I mean, he was out there dancing with
Yeah.
everybody on the dance floor and everything. So yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, this one gave a few swats at the Subway sandwiches when we reached for them. So I don't know why most of the sandwiches were vegetarian.
Right. So what you're saying is if people want to, join you and, they might be in costume, that would be highly encouraged.
As long as it probably works as, you don't want to pack a lot on trips. So as long as you can use it for keep you warm and as a costume, go for it. Yeah, have fun.
Right. Yeah. Awesome. I love it. I might have some ideas and I might have some people I might be like, hey, I got to do this. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. But, yeah.
It was a good deal.
What would you say? Yeah,
day.
so on the opposite side, the worst day.
Yeah. Well, it was a couple days ahead of that. There's a stretch, and it's actually one of the stretches that's going to be in this upcoming one. There is a dam that blocks up, and there's still all the old trees are in the water, and it literally almost looks like a porcupine's back. It's just lots and lots of trees up in the water in the Wisconsin River. And I'm just tooling around. I'm digging it. Like, this is so cool. I want to fish this. I'll probably lose every lure I've ever owned. But, I'm going to fish. And I did a little bit. And then I just started cruising around. And that new canoe Flint has perfectly straight up and down scupper holes. And some of the grooves in the bottom are like line up right with it and go right to it. So as I'm cruising around, I come up and I just felt a little gunk. I'm like, oh, whatever. Well, that little sliver of tree lined up perfectly and stuck up inside my scupper hole in the exact middle of my kayak.
Oh, no.
And I'm out in 15 foot of water. And I'm like, how? And it's like, I'm not kidding you. It'd be like trying to balance, like an apple on a pencil. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I was just sitting there and I'm like, it was so perfectly balanced. And I'm scared now. I'm like, I'm in 15 foot of water. There's nothing to grab onto. I'm trying to paddle forward, paddle back, and it's just rocking. It's teetering so bad. And I have a heavy kayak loaded with gear, right. And it's tipsy as all get out. And I'm like, I'm stuck here. I'm gonna have to call somebody to get me off this tree. I was there for an hour trying to MacGyver how to get off. I was sticking the paddle down and trying to find the tree underneath and push up and off and trying to do different things, but it was so perfectly wedged. It was, I don't know, science. And so finally, I grabbed my anchor rope and I grabbed a couple of my musky lures. And I tied up musky lures to that anchor rope and just wedged it in there. And I started throwing it out to a tree as far as I could. And I couldn't quite reach it. But the wind was starting to pick up, which was great. So the wind was, I'd throw it out one direction. And as the wind would sweep it, I'd let the rope kind of floated and it would sweep it over and grab the tree. And I pulled. And it came off like, I don't know, 10 times. Couldn't grab that tree. Like, I'm done. I'm just done. It's an hour out here. I got to call somebody. So I tried finding that one last time, and it finally hooked up in the tree just right. And I yanked myself off. And I was like, oh my God, I'm free. I'm free.
Oh, no.
So, and this thing is not an easy reservoir for someone to come out and save you. You know what I mean? It's a hike back in the woods for them to take their truck to. It was just all the things that you didn't want to really happen.
All right.
So, but needless to say, I do have a few videos on my Facebook feed of me going, yeah, I'm screwed.
Oh, no. Yeah, I've had a couple incidences out at Banner, and there's some shallow spots, and there's a lot of tree stumps out there. And of course, parts of Banner are pretty murky. And depending on the water level and time of year, in my outback, I would just be cruising along. And then all of a sudden I would just stop and I'd be like, yeah, I'm on something now. And like, it's just like, it's so weird how it happens because it's like you just perfectly get balanced like out of nowhere. And I'm like moving side to side and front and back. I was like, how in the heck am I on this thing? So I have to like get my paddle out and like stick in the mud and like push up and rock and everything. So yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice you had that stick and mud and stuff below you.
right? Yeah, to get some leverage. But when you got 15 feet of water, you're like, I got nothing to push on here.
I know that was the thing. I'm like I said, I was trying to feel the tree underneath me and try to feel like another limb or something that could get me some push off. And I shimmied that thing underneath me for. I'll take mud and rock and dirt. I don't care if it's 4 feet down. I could have hopped out and pushed out, but I dropped the weight down. And I'm like, this is too deep. I can't do nothing. I was literally thinking about, and it was just cold enough. I was thinking about taking off all my gear, like undressing and jumping out in the water, grab onto the tree underneath, press the kayak up and then off. But I thought, now I got to crawl back in my kayak in a tree field. What if I get hung up in another tree? What if I get personally caught? I'm like,
Right, yeah, so many bad situations could happen from that. Right. Yeah, exactly.
So, life lesson is, if you're in a tree field and you're out paddling, stay clear of every possible thing you can to the river, or have an escape plan.
Right, yeah. Get like a half-pound anchor or something, just whip it on shore to try pull yourself back in or something, Yeah, wow. That's crazy.
Or try to get, what's that cartoon character? Shoot. Whatever. We don't care. We just need someone to pull us off that darn thing.
Right, yeah. Oh, gosh. What are what's the water temperatures like in May up there? Are they like 50s, 60s?
I think right about then, the end of May, it's usually pretty good because the bass are just starting to want to spawn. The largemouth are just starting to do their thing, or wanting to do their thing. Usually they're all done by the first week in June. So at the end of May, should be good to rock and roll. So the water temp is usually around 50 to 55 in that time. Everyone gets all freaked out, like, Marty, it's gonna be so cold. I'm like, my very first run, 9 days, I had one night that I got a little bit cool, and I just wear my long johns and my sleeping bag. Other than that, I was fine. So I mean, it'll get down. Usually, I think in the 40s is the worst. And most people, if they have a decent sleeping bag, you can sleep comfy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And, having proper gear is really important too. I always like to preach cotton kills. Don't wear it. Stay away from it, especially with a sleeping bag too. You usually want to go for like a down sleeping bag or like a poly pro blend. I can't remember what they're, but and then same thing with layers too. Use your base layers. You want that poly pro blend, you want that fleece, you want that wool. Stay away from cotton. I learned that the hard way. Like big time. I was doing a field trip when I went to Western. We went out to Wyoming. It was like the southeastern corner or something, to do like a rock climbing training course type thing. And the instructor just assumed everybody knew how to pack proper gear, but
instructor.
But no, I had just a cotton sleeping bag. I brought like sweatpants and sweatshirts. It's all cotton. I didn't know anything. I didn't know any better. And I froze every night for like 5 or 6 days or something like that. It was brutal. And I was just like, oh my God. So I was like, never again from that. I was like, never again. I learned the hard way. So
it really does matter. I mean, it's one of those things. I love outdoor sleeping. I don't mind it. Again, if I have and I always recommend, I think it's called Climate with a K, KLYMATE, Climate airbags. There's a couple different kinds you can get. They're usually around $80 to $100, but I gotta throw it to them. I love their sleeping mat. It takes like 12 good breaths and it's inflated. And it's super easy to inflate. It rolls up super small, durable, and I had a 250-pound buddy of mine right in the store. I blew it up in the store saying, dude, try this. And on a cement floor, and it only looks like it's maybe 1.5 inches thick. But the way the air channels work in it, he'd roll on his side, he laid on his back, and he never once touched that cement floor.
Oh, wow.
Yet it contours you really good. And so I tried it years ago in the Boundary Waters, and I was I'm like, I'm never sleeping without this again on the ground. So it goes with me on every trip I go with.
Nice.
100%.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You're gonna sleep not on the ground. And anytime
No.
if you want to sleep warmer too, though, create an air buffer between you and the ground.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You learn that too, depending on, again, where you're at and where you're staying. But I also did a week-long thing out in Utah. It was warm enough to where we could just sleep right on the ground and not have to worry about anything. But like I've had like when I did summer camp out in Colorado for 2 summers, having a sleeping pad was vital.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of like survival and stuff. Anytime we go out on a river trip, I always say pack as light as you can, because when you have to portage, there's one portage in this trip that we're doing here in May that is probably about a quarter of a mile. It's all downhill, but it's a lengthy stretch, So the lighter you pack, the better. If people have any of those water purifiers, or you can do it out of a bottle, or I've seen people bring 1-gallon jugs and try to drink that for 2 days. I'm like, don't.
Right. Yeah.
Or they bring their bag of singular bottles. I'm like, no.
Oh, no, that's just causing more weight. Yeah, you can buy the $75. What I used to have one. It's like a MRS or something like that. You just put it in the water and you pump it, and you just attach your Nalgene to it, and it fills it up, and that's all you gotta do.
There's that was it LifeStraw?
Yeah. Yep.
$20, $23, and you've got something you can go right down the water. But now they got like a miniature version you can screw on the cap of a water bottle.
Yep.
Handy. You fill the water bottle with that, you screw on the cap, and you drink from that elongated snout, and you've got for cleaning. And people are still weird about that, but I tell you what, they work.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they wouldn't be able to sell them if they didn't work. Like, people would be getting sick left and right if they didn't work.
And it's so much better than hauling water with you.
Yes.
Yeah. When you have to portage a couple gallons of water,
then you're just like, nah, never again. Never again.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And on this trip, I would recommend anybody that's going to do it, if they're going to fish, that they bring a few leaders, because there will be pike. I can guarantee there'll be pike, especially get down to the main lake at the end of the trip. There's lots of pike. The last time I did it, I have one spot where I did some footage, and I think I ended up like 30 or 40 pike. So it was insane. In top water, working flukes.
Oh.
Yeah, and you'd be in 3 foot of water where there's just about the weeds are just starting to green at the bottom, where they're starting to sprout up, and it's a little ledge, and they're all hovering around that. So yeah, there's going to be some of that kind of stuff going on too. So bring some leaders, unless you don't like your lures.
Right. Nice. Awesome. Well, yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun, and we'll definitely have all the links to everything linked in the video here, where you can go and look at last year's videos and such, and figure out how to get in touch with Martin to maybe donate, whatever it may be. Let's see here. What else do I have for you today? Let's see. I don't know. Let's see here. Fishing related. What is your favorite species you like to fish for?
And honestly, it's always a toss up between bass and pike.
Yeah.
If you don't love topwater explosions, you're not an angler. But I'm spoiled. I've got lakes that I can go to up here now that I've had 30 and 40 fish days, all topwater. And you can see, and one of them is so shallow, and you can see the weight coming, for a long ways away, and you're just like, here goes, sploosh, yeah, So, and I do love to eat pike. They're that white flaky meat. And more and more people are eating them. So, but honestly, those two fish, if I can target them, great. It's faves, and I definitely don't mind going for muskie in the fall. They're a little easier to catch, yes, but they're also just fun. So
what's your biggest muskie?
42 3/8, and that was out of the. Now this is kind of a fun one, because this is my when I just started kayak fishing. I started kayak fishing, and then I had this little blue sit-in, and I mounted a board across the top so I could sit on top and put my tackle underneath. And I was fishing out of it like that, and I loved it. I loved how you could just get in a place that you could do things you could normally never do with a boat, you know. So I got up in this lake, and my buddy says, "Oh yeah, if you're gonna do this, you got to go to this lake." I'm like, "All right, I want my first 40-inch muskie out of my kayak this year, opening day of muskie season. I got a 42 and 3/8, shallow water, glide bait." And luckily, my buddy was nearby in his regular boat, so I still needed a regular boat.
Right.
Because all my grippers and all my gear and the excitement of fighting that fish, and they all ended up missing.
Oh no.
I'm like, I need help. He came flying across the lake, and he helped me, and we got her taken care of, and he measured up real good. And so, yeah, that's the biggest one.
Awesome. What about bass?
Bass was in Newport Richey in Florida. And it was cast out to this. I was watching like 3-foot gar travel through. I'm like, God, if I could get one of those. I knew I wasn't prepared for it, but it would have been cool to have for a second. But I started casting just this little topwater again, and I tweaked it twice. And you would have thought it was a bluegill. It was a little tiny topwater, and I just saw this little tiny bloop, just this little peck. I'm like, whatever. And I set the hook because it just like sucked it under. And I'm like, oh, well, this is better fish. And then it came out, broosh, broosh, 23-inch largemouth.
Oh.
Yeah. That was the biggest I ever got. And I was like, the way it bit, though, you would have thought I caught a bluegill. You know?
Yeah.
It threw me off really good. I set the hook. I'm like, oh, there's trees over there. Maybe I'm hooked in a tree. Nope.
Right. Yeah. The same thing happened to me at Banner this past fall. It was it October? When was that? I'd have to look back and see when it was, but I was fishing a plopper, and I was just slow rolling it. And like, it wasn't an explosion. I didn't see a wake or anything, but it was just this little bloop. Yeah. And I thought I was like in the weeds. I was like, oh, did I get in the weeds? So I like jerked it up, and it started fighting. I was like, oh, okay, I got a fish. Then it really started fighting. It's like, okay, yeah, I got a fish. And then I brought it up. I was like, holy crap. I was a 1/4 inch away from matching my overall personal best. I got a 21 3/4 out of Banner. Nice. My best personal best bass was Kentucky Lake 22.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So I was like a 1/4 inch off from that thing. I was just like, holy cow. It's just, yeah, it was just so subtle because it just like gulped it, but it wasn't a big anything. It was just.
Yeah. You expect this big earth hopping, you know, like bluegills can go, you know, pretty loud, but you get a bass on a big bait and it goes.
Yeah, they just slurp it, and it's just so subtle, you know. It's just like
it's a big bait, and you're just like num num, whatever.
Yeah. Nice.
So, yeah.
Well, yeah, you were talking about, you know, your 20-inch smallies too.
Telling you, this stretch of the river, if somebody wants to go on it, you just pound some, you know, some jigs in the bottom or whatever, and you know, you can probably run a red crane or a red KVD or something and rip a lot of the bottom up. And there's some big boulders, there's some trees in the water, there's a lot of stuff to work around. So it's kind of a good mixed bottom. You know, you got it from sand to rock and trees all in one area. And that's some of the areas that these are, of course, staging. So
nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I can almost guarantee someone in our group will pull out a 20 to 22-inch smallmouth out of this area when they come through. I'm hoping there's enough lines in the water they don't make me a liar.
Right. Yeah. The cameras will be working that day.
And I do plan on being on an online event during this trip.
Yeah. I was gonna say, yep, you better be.
Yeah. Awesome. So, yeah. Oh, I was just thinking about, I wanted to bring up kayak wraps once I get it settled in.
Mm-hmm.
I've been working on some kayak wraps, and Susie just recently saw some. I've got like a tribal looking fire tiger looking one, and I've got a regular fire tiger. What's that?
It's awesome.
Yeah, I like that one a lot too. That's why I brought it up first. But I got the dark night one, I call it. It looks like a little bit of carbon fiber and some stone look to it. And there's a couple like that. And I got one that looks like a bass, one that looks like a blue, almost metallic crankbait in a way. So I'm working on some more. I'm gonna do an American flag looking one, but eventually those will be out, on the market. But I don't do the printing. I do the graphic design. So I got to find someone out there that really says, hey, I got it nailed. This stuff sticks forever. So that way, when they get the decal, they feel happy with what's going on. I want to make sure the whole thing is from the graphic design to the install, that it's flawless for the customer. So.
Nice. So yeah, if any of our listeners out here make this stuff or know somebody who does,
yeah,
send them Martin's way. That's the great thing about, the community of kayak fishing. There's so many connections that you can have, even when you're just getting started, because somebody knows somebody that does something, whether it's making their own lures, making their own rods, making logos, making wraps, whatever it may be. There is somebody out there doing something, and somebody can help get you connected with. So
yeah, it's truly, there's a lot of every walk of life people out there doing, it's from your doctors to your radio DJs to whatever, to a factory worker. They're all have this passion for being on the water, and some of it's fishing tournaments. So yeah, it's kind of nice to know who's all out there, and the camaraderie that happens,
yes.
When you get out. And yeah, there, you sit around in your little groups, and most of the time we're eavesdropping on where somebody caught something, but what color it was and everything else. But there's a business aspect to it too. So.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Sure. So.
Yeah.
Well, did you have anything else that you wanted to add or talk about?
I'm sure there's a million things, because I can talk forever. I'm that kind of person. But but I just want to say, I'll just kind of leave it on note, as I really hope I get a few extra people from this that want to come up and be a part of it. If you have any questions or anything like that, go to AnglerOne. I do have it spelled out on there, and I will get more into details, maybe altering the information. But it even has pin drops as to the dams, locations, and a little bit of information about what you can expect on that. So because I've done the trip a few times, I can tell, kind of narrow it down to exactly where locations are. We can plan on everything, food, water, drinks. I'll help out with any information that makes them feel safe and have fun on the trip. But the overall end game is that we hopefully get a lot of people there that will talk about doing the raffle, and then I'll build on the raffle portions as we go too, because I'm figuring that all out in detail. I'm thinking about using a prior platform, but I'm gonna do a little hunting to see if there's another one that might be a little better. So we'll see what happens.
Cool. Awesome. Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to watching how all that goes, and maybe gonna try to see if I'm gonna be up in that area anytime you're on your trip, and just take a swing by, be like, hey, let's go fishing.
Yeah, let's nail some lips.
Right? Oh man, I don't know about you, but like last year was like the most amazing year for me for smallies, and like I'm hooked on smallies now. It's just.
I'm gonna come up with a nickname for him. I'm gonna make a logo for smallmouth, and I want to call him freshwater grouper, because they always have the same shape, some of the same coloring, and they fight like an ocean fish.
Oh my gosh, they sure do. Yeah, and they don't like to stay on the board.
No, I was watching Christine Fisher's videos, and I don't know if she's got some kind of a taming device.
Right?
For those things, she sets them down, they lay there for her. No, I know that's not true.
But I think it's also, the time of year too, because at Lake St. Clair, I was trying to remember, I didn't have that much of a problem, but when I was up in Managua oh my God, I couldn't get them to stay still for even a second. Like as soon as I would start to lift my hand up.
Oh yeah, yeah, I will say that. I don't know what it is. I 100% agree with you. I was out there and just trying to get a measurement. They do not. They'll fight you tooth and nail until the last breath.
Yes, they will.
Yep.
Awesome.
Sure.
Awesome. Well, yeah, good times. And again, we'll have all those links posted here on our pages. We'll have the links on our YouTube post and whatnot. So that way you guys can get on there and follow Martin through his adventures and everything. And yeah, so on that. Oh, you know what? One other quick thing. Yep. So at the end of this episode, we are actually going to be doing something fun. So you get to choose a unique word, and whoever comments on our post with this word, they get to win a paddle and fin hat.
Nice.
Oh yeah, you get to choose the secret word.
Ooh. Let's do freshwater grouper.
I love it. All right, so yeah, listeners, whoever is the first to comment freshwater grouper wins a paddle and fin hat. So yeah. Awesome. Well, Martin, thanks again for taking some time out today to chat, and we'll look forward to seeing you this year soon. And yeah, other than that, we'll talk at you guys later.
Go check out the website, guys, paddle, the letter N and fin.com. Also check out YouTube, youtube.com/paddle and fin. If you got a question, comment, want to hear from a future guest, feel free to email us at paddle, the letter N and fin @gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media. We're doing giveaways, announcements, things like that at Facebook and Instagram at paddle and fin. Shout out to our show supporters, Rocktown Adventures, Loveland Canoe and Kayak, Hammered Lures, Fish Mob Lures, TRC Covers, Ketch Products. Go to ketchproducts.com. You could put the paddle and fin logo right on your catch board. Don't forget to go over and pick up your JigMasters Jigs. Use promo code PNF20 and save 20% today. Don't forget to rate and review the podcast on whatever platform you're listening to. It helps grow the audience, helps others find our podcast. So please drop a 5-star rating in on the podcast platform you're listening on. Don't forget about the recycled plastics program, you guys. Take your used plastic baits, put them in an envelope, mail them to the address in the show notes. Our man Eric Richards at Hammered Lures melts those down, makes new baits, and donates them to various chapters of Heroes on the Water.